I have a good friend who's in nursing school right now, and she's overwhelmed, and she's got to write a 30-page paper, and it's due next week or something on a certain patient that she's working with in the hospital. And she's just saying, I just don't think I can do it. I'm not gonna make it through this program. I don't have time. I've got 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. And I said, just write the opening paragraph. In other words, just get started on it. Just, which is what this woman is saying that she did. Because once you get started on it, all the forces then, the procrastination, the putting it off, the setting it aside and saying, well, I'll get to that, or or all the worry around whether or not you can do it. When you just sit down and you just start it, you just get going with it. Before you know it, you've got the first page done, then the second page, and you're involved, and then the right people show up, and the events, and whatever you need, and someone will call and tell you what you were looking for, what was missing, and so on. When you start aligning yourself in the right way and get rid of the worry and the fear and the procrastination and the anxiety, the universe just, the truth of it is, man was meant to be happy and to be content, and not to be filled with worry and anxiety and stress. So why not instead just imagine this thing absolutely working out perfectly, and every single time the idea of what it is that you're going to be doing on this tour that you're doing, every time that subject comes up for you, even if it's 1,000 times a day, you go in your imagination to what you have imagined it to be. That is, the right people will show up, the right financing will take place, I'm not going to go broke. I always tell people, you can always walk down the produce aisle of enough grocery stores and eat the grapes that they throw away. You're not going to starve to death, right? And once you know that, once you're totally, completely at peace with that, that you're going to be fine, then you don't use your imagination. Like one of the gifts that, I'm working on a book that'll be coming out next year called Wishes Fulfilled. I haven't started on it yet, but I will be soon. And it's really all about placing in our imagination what it is that we want, and then living from that place. And then every time the subject of what it is that you would like to create comes up, instead of going to some disaster which takes you away from what you have in your imagination, which is a successful, tour, instead of that, you create all kinds of, negative things. Other people have tried this. You'll hear somebody say, "Oh, they did that and they went broke," and you're never going to find your mate if you don't settle down. And you get rid of all of those thoughts, and instead you just always go back to, I am creating for myself the vision that I have set, and I'm living from that place. And ultimately, wow, then you start retraining your subconscious mind, which is where all of creation takes place for yourself, in the subconscious mind. And you start retraining it so that what's built into the part of you that isn't consciously thinking is experiences that match up to what it is that's in your imagination. And before you know it, these kind of things just become your reality, and that's how you live. I always say prayer is you talking to God, but your intuition is God talking to you. That's the source. That's your source. That's the highest place within yourself. That's the source of creation speaking to you and saying, this is something you got to try out. But the idea of trying to suppress that and say, well, but I better stay here because it's safer. There's other advantages. I should be, maybe even, you might even have religious reasons why you should be there, or, some kind of loyalty that you might feel to the country or whatever. But if you've got that internal kind of calling, that pull, you don't want to get to what I say about it. Have you seen The Shift? Have you seen the movie? But that whole idea of, what if my whole life has been wrong? What Leo Tolstoy's Ivan Illich is saying. You don't want to get to the end of your life and die with your music still in you. I mean, your music's got to be played. To me, any kind of intuitive knowing that just won't go away, that just gnaws at you, that's just God speaking. That's God telling you, get off of your ass and try it. And a life of meaning is one in which you are thinking like God thinks, as Einstein said. And thinking like God thinks, it's about serving, it's about giving, it's about taking the attention, the inner mantra away from, the inner mantra of the ego is always, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? How much can I get? How much, why can't I have more? Why can't I get it on time? Why can't I have what I want? And the mantra of the higher self, of spirit, is how may I serve? How may I serve? How may I serve? That's how God thinks. How may I serve? And that's exactly a perfect example of that. And in the film, there's a character in the film. His name is Joe, and he's actually the owner of the retreat center there, Asilomar. But every time you see him in the film, at every moment you see him, and people who've seen the film several times point this out, that he's always serving, he's always seeing what he can do. He's always either picking up trash, he's cutting roses for somebody, or he's serving somebody something to eat. He's continuously doing something for somebody else. And he's the owner of the place. He doesn't have to do that. He could just have anything he wanted.